Hello, Dr. Nick Mabbott again from Beyond Midnight Consulting. Today's session is all about sleep hygiene. You've probably heard this time and time again on TV and in books. I'd like to throw a slightly different spin on it. I think one of the most important things about sleep hygiene is to have the same wake-up time every single morning wherever possible. Now, a lot of people say to me, when I ask them what time do you wake up, they'll say, oh, it depends on what time I have to start work. And I go, well, there's a problem there, because if you wake up at, say, 5 o'clock one morning and then 7 o'clock the next morning and perhaps 7 o'clock the following morning, this is what happens. The first day when you wake up at 5, your sleep onset time that night is around 9 o'clock. When you wake up at 7, your sleep onset time then goes back to about 11 p.m. What's the problem with that? Well, let's say you have to go back to waking up at 5 again. You might want to go to bed early and try and get to sleep about 9, but you know what? It's probably not going to happen because your sleep onset time was set at 11 p.m. by your 7 a.m. wake up. So you might be in bed by 9, but you probably won't sleep till about 11, and that's if you get to sleep then, because by then, because you've had trouble getting to sleep, you'll start setting up what we call sleep anxiety. You're now getting worried about your sleep because you know you're only going to get 5 or 6 hours sleep if you don't hurry up and get to sleep. So we'll talk more about that in quite some detail later on, when I talk to you about how to be asleep within 5 minutes every night. So you don't want to miss that session. So just for now, sleep hygiene starts with waking up at the same time every morning. If you have fluctuating start times at work, pick the best time to wake up that would suit every one of those different start times, and find something to do around the house if you can. It might be getting a few chores out the way, making yourself a really nice lunch, and so on. So that's the start. Of course, if you wake up at the same time every morning, you'll have the same sleep onset time every single night. And there usually isn't much variance in that. So let's just say if you've set your time on 6 a.m., that will give you a bedtime where you should be in bed about 10 p.m. And by about 10:15, you should be fast asleep. And the important thing here is not to try too hard to be asleep. Just go to bed, go to your happy place, try and make sure you've dumped all the stuff, all your worries and troubles out of your brain before you go to bed, so that you've got a pretty clear mind and you know that between 10 and 10:15, you can just go to sleep. So work on that 16 hours. Now, here's something that you've been bombarded with over the years, and that is a lot of research shows that if you're watching blue screen technology, it reduces your melatonin. And of course, we know that we need melatonin to help us sleep. Melatonin is a very interesting hormone in that it tends to turn off a component of your brain that is searching for light. Now, here's the deal. There is also a fair bit of research out there saying, you know what, we didn't find that watching blue screen technology reduces your melatonin. The jury is still a little hung on that. But you know what I think is the more important component of this? If you're sitting in front of TV watching Netflix or Stan or whatever you like to watch, one of the biggest problems is you might be sitting there and a sleep wave starts to come over you. And that's your brain saying, it's time to go to sleep now. And you'll notice that your eyes start closing. If you're talking to your partner, you'll stop talking and you'll start not listening to whatever your partner's saying. And you know that can be dangerous sometimes. And you might often find that you'll get a tap on the shoulder and it'll be your partner saying, "Oi, wake up and go to bed." And then of course you get up. off the lounge, you go to bed, can't sleep. So what's going on there? We get this second wind, don't we? Well, I'm going to teach you over this series of talks that your sleep waves just come in short waves to start off with. And if you want to grab that first one, that is almost exactly 16 hours and 10 to 15 minutes after you've woken up. Hence the reason I say be in bed 16 hours after you woke up in the morning. All right, so that sleep timing is very important. So where people think melatonin's been knocked out is that people are getting interested in what they watch, they don't turn the TV off, and they miss the golden opportunity to be asleep in 5 minutes. And then of course, if you miss that, the next opportunity is usually not for about another hour to an hour and a half. So sleep timing, very important. Let me summarize that. Wake up the same time every morning, go to bed at the same time every night, 16 hours after you wake up, with a clear head and no TV or anything with a screen in bed. So very important. And then you have the rest of the normal sleep hygiene. You want a dark room, obviously. Blackouts in your windows are very good, especially if you have problems with street lighting, car noises, and so on. A lot of people plant bird attracting plants in their front yard. What's the problem with that in spring and summer, I wonder? Well, the birds tend to wake up at 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning. And if you don't want to, well, maybe you want to put those plants in the backyard away from your bedrooms. Try and get rid of other noise sources wherever you can. If you need to wear earplugs to bed, in some cases, when you are having troubles with noises, say that the neighbour has their stereo up at night. A good trick with earplugs, especially if you're wearing the cheap push-in ones, is to cut them in half so that they don't hang out of your ears like handlebars when you're trying to sleep on your side. So again, very important. A cool room is quite useful. Look, there's no designated temperature that you need to be. It's whatever suits you and or your bed partner. If it's a male and woman combination, then normally the male has the temperature a couple of degrees colder than the female. The females tend to like to be a little bit warmer. However, this is not always the case for every couple, and certainly for some females reaching the menopause stage of their life, this is where it's blankers and doonas on and off and on and off. And in those cases, I recommend having a remote controlled fan by your bedside, so you don't have to get out of bed. You throw the blankets off, you turn the fan on, cool down, throw the blankets back on, go back to sleep. So that is most of what I have with sleep hygiene. As we go through this series of talks, I'll also talk about how there are different foods and things like that that can also assist you to get a better sleep. So that's it for sleep hygiene for now. If I've missed anything, I'll probably cover it in another session. But basically, just to summarize, wake up the same time every morning, go to bed the same time every night, 16 hours after you've woken up. This is for adults. Kids need more sleep. We'll talk about kids' sleep later on sometime. Make sure that you cut off your technology before going to bed. Some say half an hour before is good, but look, as long as you're in bed at the right time, that has less of an impact. Cool, dark, quiet room. If your partner snores, try and be asleep before them so that you go deaf as they start snoring. We'll talk about the stages of sleep and how you go deaf in deep sleep a bit later on. Anyway, that's it for this session. Dr. Nick signing off I hope you're looking forward to my next sessions because there's plenty to come. Don't forget my website on the right hand side there. Don't forget later on I will have a book coming out which will have all of this information and heaps more. I look forward to seeing you next time. See you later.